The fact of the matter is, the issue before the people was the government of the Bahamas asking the people, do they want to make gambling legal? And the people said no. And yet that would be changed to, they find it repugnant that the government is saying that its own people can't gamble. That wasn't the question. So there's a lot of smoke and mirrors behind this whole thing, but the people have spoken quite decisively. They are against gambling, against making a vice legal. And but we have seen that the government of the day, well, I think that whether the government of the day was F&M or PLP, there is a reluctance because of the monies that are out there associated with this. There's a reluctance to follow the people's will in this regard and shut the whole thing down and put the measures in place to keep it shut down. There's very clearly no political will to deal with this matter. I think the government took notice of the fact that the church could come together and very powerfully on the issue. We heard one person jokingly said to one of the pastors, boy, they need to write a new chapter for the book, The Art of War, because you fellows really knew how to deal with the other side, even though they were throwing up to $7 million at us. And we, as you know, had a budget not even 1/1000th of that, even less than that. And so we learned that the church can come together because from Nassau to Freeport to Inagua, we were bound together and we worked together very well. I think churches need to recognize that the way that the world is going, where the other side uses the courts to overturn the will of the people, churches must have the best legal minds, and those legal minds see it as their Christian duty. They're not trying to make money off of this. This is their Christian duty. This is how they're giving back to God. God, you've educated me, you've trained me, you've made me the man that I am today by, the church cookouts that allowed me to go off to get my law degree. God, this is my worship response back to you. I will fight this thing. I will fight against injustice. I will fight against evil. I will fight against those who use their intellect to promote wrong and frustrate the will of the people. This is my offering back to you, God. And so churches need to have at the ready legal minds, legal team who will fight against these things. Churches also need to recognize that we have to be salt and light in very real ways. Preaching from a pulpit on Sunday or on the radio is wonderful. That ought not to stop, and it needs to continue unabated. We need to get into the highways and byways with our message, but more than that, we need to recognize that sometimes the best man, the best job, best woman for the job is not necessarily a preacher. It's the lawyer. It's the parliamentarian. It's somebody in that sphere who, as was William Wilberforce, as was Esther, who was just the king's wife, Nehemiah, who was made governor. It's these people who the church needs to see is their voice and not the preacher. I think that sometimes we've gotten this idea that unless the preacher is the one leading it, there's no legitimacy. And nothing could be further from the truth. The sons and daughters of the church who find themselves spread throughout the society, they're the ones who need to take up that mantle and run with it. And so as churches, let's train our people better to stop thinking that unless my pastor's speaking to it, I'm not qualified to speak to it. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Use the position that you have. If someone is good at camera work and editing and filming, they can use their talents to get the word out, as is we are seeing here with these programs. But we have to all see ourselves as a part of the Lord's team. Others in another era would say army, moving out, making an impact, because I can tell you, the other side is moneyed, determined, and insistent that their worldview be the worldview practiced, and that worldview believes Christianity is a threat to society. Can you believe that? Christianity that has made society, Christianity that has established social care and orphanages and who around the world have been responsible for the written language around the world in these areas where missionaries went, who stopped the barbaric practices that took place, female mutilation, female circumcision, the destruction of twins because one was considered the evil doppelganger of the other, who stopped foot binding and sati, the burning of a bride after her husband died, so that no man would have her. It's the church that moved into these areas that brought about the dignity of the human being, that felt that women were deserving of an education. How can someone in their right mind suggest that the church is a threat to society? Because the church believes that society is better when a man and a woman married to each other are raising children. We have to understand our worldview is literally under threat, and it's not going to change by us hiding our heads in the sand waiting for the rapture. We must rise to the occasion. These are perilous times we're living in, and we must be like the men of Issachar who know what's happening and know what's the best thing to do to counter that.